All right, fellas. Welcome back to the shop for some more shop time with Dave. And as you guessed, I'm Dave. So, this episode, we're going to tackle a project that, through my own stupidity, we have to do. If I'd have just been a little more patient, we wouldn't be tackling this project right now. So, I alluded in the past to having to repair this crankshaft. Camshaft, I'm sorry. So some genius snapped that end off. Oh wait, that's me. Anyhow, we got to figure out how we're going to do this. So I kept wondering, why is that thing hollow with a pin drill or a pin pressed in it? And I finally realized that's a hardened pin. And that's how you adjust the thrust on it. Is on the timing cover, there's a screw with a jam nut on it that sets the tension for your end play. So that was pressed into here. So what we're going to do on this project is I got this fine thread grade 8 1/2 inch bolt. We're going to tap and run this guy in here. Then we're going to come into this guy, and it needs to be drilled out to 1/2 inch. So this guy will slide through it. So bear with me here. So we'll use the bolt to hold this in place, this threaded section. It'll hold it in the right orientation. And once that's done, it'll go in the lathe, and we'll groove this out real good and fill it all back in with braze, which that's going to mess with the threads a little bit. So we'll have to go in and rethread this. So there's going to be a lot of lathe and a little bit of brazing work on this. Well, I was waiting for it to warm up out here. Can't try to record and run the heater at the same time. I went ahead and pressed this off and pressed that little pin out of there. So the next thing to do is let's get this guy in the lathe. See if we can drill that out. I think just running a 1/2 inch drill through it'll be fine. It's not real critical. It just has to have a little bit of clearance for this bolt to come through. I went with grade 8 because I wanted it to be hard. I'm just going to go ahead and leave this in here once it's done for extra retaining. And it's going to replace this hardened pin. I shouldn't have too much problem cutting this bolt with carbide. So the next thing to do is get you guys over in the tripod at the lathe, and we'll get started on this. So we got a 1/2 inch drill in here, and we're ready to drill it. Cast iron, so hopefully it drills real easy, and I don't think that we're going to need any oil on it. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to face this bolt off. I want it to be pretty close to the same thickness as this. Let's give her a go. I got this down to where I think it's good. Next thing to do is see if we can match that diameter. Doesn't have to be perfect. I think I actually want it just a little bit bigger than this one. I put that washer in there to keep me from accidentally running into the chuck. For all of you out there that stuck back and asked yourself, how's it going to tighten that up? That's where this comes in. So we got the cam in the lathe now. Brought out the steady rest. This tap's junk, but we're going to give it a try. It's the only half 20 tap I can find here, like usual. Anyway, that's our setup. So let's see what we can do with it. We're back at it. We had to change strategies here a little bit. So I went and bought a new tap because that other one was so dull it wasn't going to cut anything. I couldn't get it to start or, well, nothing. I did have to do a little bit of a pilot on here to make this start. Gave up on the chuck because the tap was just spinning in there, which that's not all that rare. So we're back at it. I put a center in. The tap is, it's got a center in it already. So that keeps it straight. That'll help us out quite a bit. This is a slow process. Just working it. Cut a little bit, back it off. Got to keep advancing the center forward. Back at it. Alright, so now that I'm in here a little bit, I'm not worried about it being straight so much because, well, it's got a guide to go along. I pulled the center out to get it out of the way. I went ahead and put a more traditional tap handle on. As you can see, it's still a slow process. We're back, and I guess this tap, for a brand new tap, didn't fare very well. I just brought this tonight. But I put a mark to show how far we went in with it. Our magic bolt. There we go. Here's our part. These things, y'all probably already know this, but kind of like a jigsaw. They only go together one way with this rough pattern in here. Kind of locks in a little bit. Stick our bolt in there. Of course, you can see everything, right, with my big, huge, fat hands. So we're set up again. Our first thing we'll do is go in this little grooving tool and see if we can open that up a little bit. And hopefully not break that thing loose. But we'll give her a try. Let me get you in the tripod. You probably won't be able to see very much. There's just nowhere for me to put the camera that's good. But we'll give it a try. There we go. Bring you in. So you can kind of see that we're starting to open it up and get some room in there for the brass to flow. So we'll bring you back when we're ready for the next thing. I'll bring you back for handheld for just a second. This is a pretty important step. We need to check this with a thread gauge. So when we're ready to rethread this, we know what the thread pitch it is. This is 14. I had guessed 12, so it's a good thing I got the thread gauge out and checked it. Alright, well, time for some brazing. I took the cam in, I let it sit on top of the stove for a while and warm up. I guess that's one benefit of wintertime. You got the stove running to warm your camshaft up so you can braze the end back on. But whatever. So it's got some heat into it. And now I'm going to fire up the torch and put a little more into it. Well, we got some brass on there, so let's get this back on the stove so it doesn't cool down too fast. We'll bring it back when we're ready for something else. Well, we had time to let this cool off overnight. We're back in the lathe. It's time to start whittling this brass down in here. Hopefully I got you a good enough angle. But that was about the only place I could set you. Okay, it's turned down now. Next step is to thread it. I know that's what you guys are looking for. So let's talk about that for just a second. To thread on this lathe, what we got to do is come over here engage this guy. Can't do it one-handed. There we go. And then we got to go to this chart. We know that we've already looked and we know it's 14 threads per inch. So we line up this lever here. Engage with 14. Come across here to C. Looks like we're already in C. It goes A, B, C, D. They're stamped in there, but they're really hard to see. So the gearbox should be set. Come up here. I need to disengage the cone pulleys from the gear set up here, so this can spin freely. Come in the back through the belts here, engage this lever, and that engages our back gears. So what that'll do is allow this to spin quite a bit slower so I can keep up with stuff. The next step is to do a whole bunch of fiddling and get the tip of the tool lined up in amongst one of the good threads that's already there. That said, this needs to line up, and then we got to come over to our dial here and line up, and we got to line up get our gauge, our levers just right. This is our half nut lever. It needs to be engaged correctly. Basically, we got to get everything in time with each other. And then we're ready to cut. It's threading time. Back in handheld, and through the magic of TV and editing, Bob's your uncle. So you guys don't call me out on it. Here's the Loctite going on this. If we have any left. There it is. One last thing. I went ahead and I cleaned this cam up. I want to put some of this assembly lube on it. Hopefully that'll keep it from rusting. There we have it, guys. Another project in the books. Well, I don't know what we're going to work on next time, but it may involve this part of the water pump drive. Or possibly this housing. I know we got a nice big old smile right here and a crack there. Those need taken care of. So I don't know. I'll have to think it over and see what we're going to do. Until next time, Shop Time with Dave signing off.